It looks like another legend was made, Joe, over the weekend. You hate to see it. Well, I guess we have to discuss it. We'll be back after this.
Hello, my name is Ilya Orlov, coach of the University of Toronto Varsity Blues, and you're listening to the Futbol Weekly Podcast with Joe and Reggie.
As I mentioned earlier, Joe, it looks like I'm never gonna get away from this legend talk. So let's just recap the Champions League final, get it out of the way, and push it aside.
Well, obviously, we're talking about City's victory over Inter on the weekend. We like to blow things up, and we like to have the man of the hour, person of the hour, woman of the hour.
Or year.
Yeah, year. Yeah. The game that me and you expected, I thought you and I expected Inter to be more than competitive. They were. And I thought they were fantastic in the game, in moments. And to be fair, they looked like the more dangerous team in a lot of the second half, a lot of parts of the second half. Of course, Rodri scoring in the second half, but I thought Inter was fair value in terms of could have easily been ahead and could have easily won the game.
Well, I think I was saying to everybody who would listen at our own soccer game that Inter had more chances to win the game than Man City did.
Yeah, clear-cut goal chances, yeah.
The DeMarco, I mean, you feel bad for Lukaku, takes the brunt of not scoring and all the stuff that, one of the guys on the team made a comment, he wears number 90 because he needs 90 chances to score, or 99, whatever number he is. So just to get in the way of that, I don't think there's much he could have done to get out of the way of that. DeMarco header, but the header that he had one-on-one with Ederson, he has to score.
I think that's fair. I think that's more than fair. The one where he gets blocked, he can't get out of the way that fast. No. And to be fair, a lot of the Man City players were right there. They probably would have cleared it off the line. Yeah, the header is the one. Of course, that's the one that we're looking at because I don't think, Ederson knew anything about the save, to tell you the truth. So That's the one he's got to score. And, it seems from that, like Inter was coming in waves. We had highlighted DeMarco before the game, and true to form, he absolutely performed, to a level that is worthy of a Champions League final. And there's a lot of names being bandied about with a big move to a Premier League. To me, DeMarco was a guy that I would be absolutely knocking the door down for, not only because of his Champions League performance, but throughout the year, he's been very, very good. So many ways. He affects the game so many ways.
Where did he come from, Joe? Somebody asked me, where did he just popped up on the scene for Inter, or where did he come from?
So he was with Inter last year as well. Again, had a really good year last year. He was an Inter product, I think, as a youth player. And I think he had a great season, I believe, at Verona, where he was on loan. And then he came back. And, it's been fantastic, hasn't he? It's been electric.
He looked really good. It's probably the first time I've seen him. I know, like you said, he's been playing for Inter for the last couple of seasons, but I don't really watch Inter like that. It was. You mentioned him last week. Was a guy to look out for. So I looked at it. I watched him during the game, and it's a guy that I'm surprised I haven't heard more about this guy. So
I thought he did a great job this year, Reggie. Sorry to interrupt you there. I thought he did a great job of, if we would say that he replaced Perisic, on that left side and really is, in Inzaghi's traditional 3-5-2 or 3, with playing with wing backs. I thought he more than did it. I mean, he takes free kicks. He's good at taking somebody on, gets very good crosses in, as you saw. And he can hit a ball and gets involved even with late runs into the box and aggressive tackles. I mean, I'm really describing a Premier League type player if you look at it. So, yeah, very impressive. For me, he was lights out. I think Inzaghi deserves credit before we get to even like the Pep legend stuff, which okay, but I thought Inzaghi's did a really good job of preparing the game, and you had the team doing well, so he deserves a lot of credit for that.
Well, it's something that I didn't think I would see, them playing as open and loose and pressing, and I didn't think I would see that, and I think that kind of surprised Man City as well. I think thought it was going to be a typical Italian team performance where you're going to sit back and hope for a counter, but they were pressing and getting about the field. So I was surprised to see it, and I mean I think it kind of shocked Man City a little bit that they came out and played like that.
Yeah, and this is what confused me. If I was saying it to you even on the chat, on one of our group chats, there I said they're not going to sit back, and they did. You saw. I did. It just Inzaghi coach teams don't traditionally set back there. Like I know we like to lump everybody together, and we say, the Italian teams play this way. Well, yeah, traditionally, but which ones? Like which types? And Italian teams don't. AC Milan traditionally didn't in the Champions League. So these are groups that, for the most part, yes, a lot of Italian teams defend this. This is not the case anymore. Inzaghi, that's not in his DNA. Did they, a lot of coaches that I follow, and maybe they say this to him, you have to learn, you got to be good when you're suffering in a game because you're going to be under. And I think that embodies Inter. The Inter always is in games. That's I watched them a lot this year, and of course they've undone my team. Obviously, coming to the Champions League final, they know how to suffer well, and when they suffer, they're not in a lot of trouble. And I don't think they suffered a lot in this game, Reggie. That's what I don't think they were suffering
at all. I mean, like you said, they should have won, Joe. They should have won.
Yeah, and I think the quality of this. Kevin De Bruyne once again gets hurt in the final and leaves. Couldn't finish the game. Just we're stating the fact. Another final. Right, early days, early on in the game. Erling Haaland did not have a very good game. Acerbi got a lot of credit for shutting him down, but Haaland was very effective. And this speaks to the depth part. The depth part is Phil Foden comes in and plays one of the best games we've seen all year from him. Again, because Phil Foden hasn't featured as much, right? Bernardo Silva we know him by now, fantastic. And so the quality comes through, and Rodri comes through with a goal. So this, to me, speaks to what we said about this lineup, this roster, this depth of star, depth of players who can make the difference is staggering. So even when you were not on, right, Reg, you're going to find a way to be in it and solve, the problem that's in front of you, and they did. And they didn't do it with what many people had thought they would, right? They were going to be stellar. It was going to be 3, 4, 5, nothing. No, and we said on the show that Inter is the type of team that can cause a lot of problems, and not only because they can defend. They went forward and they tried to play their brand.
Right. Well, you bring up Haaland, and it's when I was watching him. I watched him specifically in the game. I think Inter's defense played him like you play a player like that, which is you got to play him physical. When a player like Haaland, a physical striker like that, I liken him to Costa and Drogba, the physical strikers that. And putting my team into it, when our defense came up against those two, Drogba and Diego Costa, they're shrinking violets against them. Those guys could do whatever they wanted to our defense. They were bullying us, and we had nobody to stand up to those two. But I think it's when I think it was a Cherby and who was the other guy at the back? Bastoni?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're all physical defenders. They want that physicality in the game. They they want to bump and push and pull and fight. So when you run up into a striker, when you run up to defense like that, it's not going to be easy for the striker. So I don't know if that's something that Haaland needs to realize when he comes up against defenders that don't want any part of him. I think that's when he shines most. But I mean, he's still young, but I mean, he's got to get that killer instinct against guys that aren't going to be afraid of him too, right?
Yeah, I think those are valid points and good points. A good analysis there. And, the exact situation that was happening with Erling Haaland in the game, and I agree. And the defenders were up for the task, and obviously it was a tactic that was highlighted and it was demonstrated in the game. I think back to the tactics of the game and how it went. Pep Guardiola was saying in an interview with Alex Del Piero on Italian DAZN, and it doesn't matter, but he said this wasn't the city that we saw all year. At times we saw a city. This is Del Piero saying this is the greatness of this strength of squad, and that you found a way to solve the problem, which you did in the end. And Pep was very open about he did not expect Çalhanoğlu, Hakan to be in those positions and to get beyond Rodri and be ahead of Rodri and kind of be beating him, right, and so on, and ahead of that line and so on. They thought it was going to be Brozovic. So it was great of him. It was a great analysis, and he said that was causing them problems because they were looking – he was beating them and then looking to play. And I think, there's the perfect example of the defense through offense and controlling the game. And
right.
If I would have told you that the Inter midfield was a little better in a lot of parts of this game than the City midfield, you would have said, you're crazy.
Right. Before the game.
Yeah. Before the game. As it went on, and we noted that finals take on an identity of their own, don't they, Reg? And it did. It did. What we expect doesn't always happen. No one expected a 3-3 final in the World Cup final with those two teams and so on. So it's credit to Inter. Again, Man City won. We're going to talk about that. And they deserve their credit in some ways. Reggie will talk on that.
Mr. Card credit.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah. This notion that there's no Cinderella about this. This Man City should be winning the Champions League, right? They should be doing this. They should be lifting these trophies based on not only the amount of money they spend, but who they have in the squad and who they bought with that money. And again, Phil Foden came into the game for Kevin De Bruyne, right? And most teams don't have that. 99.9% of teams don't have that. PSG, Real Madrid. Okay.
PSG, Real Madrid. Yeah, those teams that's three teams out of how many, Joe?
Bayern Munich, and still not to the level of the player for player. Julian Alvarez, Riyad Mahrez, just to name a few, didn't see
those guys didn't even put their shin pads on.
Right? Like this, and I was saying this to someone today. Inter played very well without Lautaro Martinez playing very well.
Yeah, that's very true. I think I was speaking to our resident Inter fan after our game on Monday. He was kind of disappointed with Lautaro Martinez's performance.
Yeah,
and I mean that's one of your star players. He didn't. I don't think he did that badly. There's maybe one instance where he could have squared a ball and decided to take a shot at a bad angle. He's a striker. He's going to shoot. I guess I don't have a problem with that. But I didn't think he played that poorly. But he was very, very upset with his.
Well, I think it's because of what we've seen from Inter and their success throughout the year that it's been based on. Like the turnaround, if we say it's been 2 months or so, it's been very, very not dependent, but it's been Lautaro Martinez had a lot to do with it. Let's put it that way in his play, and whoever he was playing with at the striker position. Of course, we know that he has the ability to drop in and do those things. We had noted about him being very, very similar to Julian Alvarez. So that was shocking to me. That if we got a game, if you're an Inter fan and you're looking at, you got a game that was even just a bit better than average from Lautaro, then this could have went a different way. So that's what I was disappointed in terms of that. It looked like City, to me, they couldn't believe. I don't want to say this, and I know they respected the opponent. I don't think they can believe that they were in a game. I thought they didn't expect to be in a game that long. They thought that something would break, and it didn't.
Yeah, until the second half, clearance that came out to Rodri. But yeah, I totally agree. They were looking for a different type of game. For 2 weeks, you're listening to, and I know coaches and even Pep would come in and say, don't listen to the pundits or what the papers are saying. It's going to be slaughter. There's that, they're trouble, blah blah blah. Don't read that and let's go out and play our game. But I don't think there's no way the coaching staff was. I don't think anybody I know was expecting that kind of.
No,
maybe
and
you.
I think
Maybe.
well, yeah. We said. I mean, we did say that we thought Inter would play.
Yeah.
I think Pep used a lot of that in the week. I thought too, or leading up to it, saying, Italian teams are comfortable at 0-0. It's like they're up 1-0. Yeah. I think he knew that Inzaghi was not going to just sit back. He knows they study these tendencies, and to be fair, Inzaghi, there's a connection too with Italian influence on the City staff and one of the assistants and so on. There's stuff there that that they know that Inzaghi played a modern type of game, and especially in the last 2 months. And we spoke to the pressure, and maybe Inter would not have played that maybe wide open. I'm not saying they played floodgates, but they played a little bit more open than we thought because of what we spoke about lack of pressure on them, right? And there was no expectation for them to win it, so you can go out and save face and do that. But we know, right? Like you're at that point where yes, you've conquered that barrier of okay, you're in the game. You're not just going to get blown out. Well, let's try to win this, and that's what I saw with Inter. I really thought I was saying it. Equalizer's coming, right? Because I thought it was coming. I really thought that it was coming. I thought in a few more minutes they go, and then of course Ederson makes a big save. In the end,
at the end off Gosens, I think it was with the header.
Yeah. Right. So and I thought that was something I wish I would have saw earlier. If you're, just a neutral, Gosens being introduced a little earlier. I thought that was a great move having Gosens and DiMarco on that left side. And there's the versatility of DiMarco too. Played in the back three, right? In the three of the back three, and still able to get forward. Of course, the game, you're down 1-0, you're going to push that way. But he and Gosens, I thought, again, outnumbering guys and players on that left side. Gosens putting in some good balls, and you would have liked to see some more of those situations where they were outnumbering Inter in that, City in that area. Mm. And it looked like a City team that was relieved, right, Reggie? I don't know what your thoughts on that. They looked relieved. Yes, they looked like they had a lot of fun, a.k.a. Jack Grealish. But, did you get that sensation that, yes, of course they were happy, but it looked like a relief kind of thing?
I think the last 10 minutes of that game, much as whatever you want to say about Lukaku, I think he changed sort of the attack that Inter was bringing as well. But I think the last 10 minutes of the game, most definitely, they were waiting for that whistle to blow because they were under extreme pressure. Even like you just said, the very last kick of the game, the Gosens header. I mean, one lack of concentration on that header, a turned head, that's in the net, right? 90th minute. So, I mean, I think City was relieved to hear the players, especially. I think I see Pep Guardiola on his knees and asking the fourth official the time, and so I think for sure they were relieved. Most coaches do that, but not at the magnitude of that. You can see it changing a little bit. Joe, another 5, 6, 7 minutes, and I think Inter scores. So
yeah, I think that's a valid point. I mean, they were, at the end of the day, yes, it's about getting the final result. But I think we could see the amount of pressure that was on them.
Yeah.
Right, Reggie. Like this, if this is next year or the year after, even if next year they don't make it, you can see them playing maybe a little bit more of their way. I think it's a point to be noted that Pep's tried to play his a certain style and so on like that. He's had to adapt, and he talked about it too in that same interview. He talked about being, what he's doing is still the same, and he says that he has his ideas, but we see it. Right, we see it, and you adapt to the players that you have. You went out and got Erling Haaland to have a true number 9, right? And to learn the error of your ways of going with the false line. Yes, that works, but not all the time. And it works in different methods and different ways. So he had to adjust. Yeah, in my view, he had to adjust.
Yeah.
And that game was, it's the mark of a true team. And when I mean team, I mean the squad depth this was what did it. I mean, that squad depth, So the Pep, I know this much was made about Pep because, he is that star manager type. The thing that I really liked that I saw, and this is where the plan to like do different things is what I like. And Reggie, you've always said it. Well, he has all this money and these quality players. That cannot be disputed. If we're going to dispute that, then it's really, we're just, we want to have fun, I think, with anybody. So that can't be disputed. My argument always to you, and of course I respect Reggie a lot, his opinion, but we have to disagree on stuff or else this wouldn't be, a good dialogue. It's what he does with what he has. Now Reggie will go back to he has the most. True. Putting someone like John Stones in midfield, I thought that was something that is so underrated or isn't underrated, but that's one of the things I think the credit has to come from like that. I don't know. What are your thoughts on even that, Reggie?
Well, I was shocked to see Stones playing there, and for me, Joe, he was the man of the match. He was excellent in that role, and it's probably the first time I've ever seen him play that role. Now I don't know.
He's done it in the last month and a half, right, Reggie? I've seen him do it this year. Yeah.
I don't watch City.
Well, especially I know, and I mean, I get it. I wouldn't be watching him either last.
I don't watch City, so I don't know if he's been playing that
with
role like that. But he was when I saw him pop up in the midfield, he was too high up the field. I mean, why is there center back all the way up there? And it's just he was Joe. He was X. I always rip John Stones. I never viewed him as a top defender, but watching him in that game, he was the man of the match for me. If I had to pick someone off Man City, he was the man of the match. Wow. Excellent. And it's shocking coming from me, believe me, but I call it as I see it. If it's true, it's true. So
and I think that's for me, Reggie, where I'll get the credit, like give the credit to Pep Guardiola. He saw that, and I think again, we've said it even 5 times, even within this conversation I have. You can have pieces; it's what you do with them. Pep says some stuff that pisses people off. I get it. I understand that. I get it. He has all the tools, every tool at his disposal. It's what you do with them. I think doing that with Stones was a big thing. It's creative. It's going. And again, you'll say it too. Well, if you have all those players, you can be creative. No doubt. And I think that was such a good thing. I think it's gonna. I think it's gonna benefit a lot, Reggie. I know other people have said this. England.
I thought you were going to say the academy.
Yeah. What's funny, right? How about this? So he buys Calvin Phillips, right? Didn't play in that role at all. Didn't play. Now you have John Stones in there. So if you're the England manager, you play Calvin Phillips. I saw Calvin Phillips got called up. Like, why would you not play John Stones in there now?
Yeah, but you're talking about Gareth Southgate. Nothing he does makes a whole bunch of sense. He has the ability, he has the opportunity, the opportunity to go watch other coaches experiment with his players that he can watch and say, you know what, if I was Gareth Southgate, I'm putting John Stones in the role that he played for Man City. There's no question. And then I'll find another defender. There's so many defenders out there to pick from. Tomori's still waiting for his call up, right? He can play there. Ben White can play there. If you still want to force Harry Maguire to play, that's one of those. There's 3 right there that you can move that allow you to move Stones into that midfield role. But it's Gareth Southgate, so I don't know. He'll probably put him in net. I don't know.
Is that did he kind of do? Did he kind of do this with even Javi Martinez at he did it the other way, right, Reggie? He's taken central midfielders and put them at center back, right? Like Mascherano and Javi Martinez. Yes, right?
Well, yeah, I think if you're a center back, you know what the forward runs that you hate are. You know how to what you want your defensive midfield, how you want them to shield you. So if you're a center back and you move into that role, you already know what you're
I agree.
not to do and what to do, and to help the back and even help the front, right? So putting a defender in that role that's probably the only way you can really go. You can't put a midfielder in defense, but you can put a defender into the midfield, sure.
But again, he did it with Mascherano, and Javi Martinez went the other way.
Right.
But again, but I agree with you. Like doing it with John Stones and his profile and as a player was incredible, because we always said that he had good. If his best attribute as a center back, when the center back was playing out of the back and his feet, right? Maybe the other stuff wasn't his best. Was it bad? No, but it wasn't his best. His best attributes are playing, right? So it was just it was good to see. Like, it was, again, creative, innovative, and so on.
But I don't think it was him. I don't think it was him more of playing in the midfield. I think he was just a center back that stepped up into the midfield, because he was back defending still when they were defending. He was back defending. So I think it was just, it's one of those things that you see it all over the leagues, all over the teams now, that defender steps up. You see it on Arsenal. I know Arteta's the student, but you see it on Arsenal. Our one of our defenders, Gabriel Magalhaes, he's at the top of the other team's 18-yard box at most times.
No, and again, I'll go back to it, is that's modern football, right? It's modern football, like
right.
It's where it used to be just outnumbering opponents in wide areas. Now you're trying to outnumber opponents in midfield. And I spoke about that again in the interview as well, that I was quoting or talking about, is that's part of his overall philosophy. That's always going to be the same, and he says it. That's what he said, because the philosophy will always be the same in terms of high press, outnumbering in the middle, and looking to play. So again, few things change, but the philosophy's there. But to me, it was boring first half, boring, but interesting because of the tactics. Right. And we know that Pep's a top manager. Obviously, many people say the best, whatever. But I think this was fair dues to Inzaghi, that he, showed his qualities.
Why is he the best manager?
No, I'm saying what people might say, right? They would say he's the best manager. Him and like the two, who? I mean, Nagelsmann's and Tuchel's before. I know they had rough years. Ancelotti's, and so I'm talking about this era, right now. But I'm not saying Inzaghi's in the mix for the best, but he showed as a top manager for me. Like, I thought on the big stage, this could have been kind of one certain way, and he did. He has his ways to play, and this is what I hope more fans would do, is like take a look at it. It's a team that obviously broke my heart. It's the biggest rival, but I got to give them credit. He's done a great job. Inzaghi's done an amazing job, and I'm glad in terms of he gets another chance at it. There was 2 months ago. Lots of talk of him being exonerated, and being gone, because they were struggling, and then they went in these last 2 months where they really, really solidified themselves as a top team. And for me, for a lot of people, the odds-on favorite to win Serie A next year, and maybe give another deep run. Say go to the final, going to run champions.
Yeah. I mean, it's a telling fact as well that I think you had 3 teams in the European finals, 3 Italian teams in the European finals between Fiorentina, Roma, and Inter Milan. We're seeing Serie A come back into prominence, even though we don't have a Juve to watch anymore. I think, and I forgot to mention last week, Leao re-signed with Simo, right? You thought for sure he was gone.
Yeah. So again, I kind of the biggest piece of information there is so Leao is, of course, re-signed. Signed somewhere near it'll be like $7 million a year over 5 years or 4 years. The most important thing, I think, for a lot of Milan fans is signing a deal with a $175 million release clause.
Yeah.
I think
I can see There's 3 teams that can pay that.
right? So,
And one of the
you
teams
know,
might lose their best player next season.
well, you think like is PSG going to be on this, right? It's like no
Yeah.
Mbappe is the next,
Mbappe leaves, then
because it looks like the
something.
I guess it's a nice leeway into our next thing, right? But the dominoes are what? Mbappe to Real to PSG.
Neymar back to Barca.
Reg, I've been reading a lot of, in
Huh?
Dream World. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Red.
No, say it again. What'd you say?
So because I've been living in Dream World or Nightmare Land, because
Okay.
Paul
Mhm.
Maldini being let go, and of
Oh,
course
yeah.
back to like free transfers and being fiscally fiscally or whatever
That's
you
a
want to
thing
call it.
nowadays?
So
Fiscally financial is a
prudent
thing?
garbage. So so that was Nightmare. What about Dreamland? So Dreamland is this, Kylian Mbappe, huge AC Milan fan, and has been saying a lot of stuff in the last few days, right? So it's like imagine Dreamland, right? So that is clearly 1000% Dreamland. I read something that was pretty funny. It said perfect. He'll be here when he's 38 and finish his career.
But Joe, if you were to get Mbappe,
No.
Mbappe together, I don't know, man. That's deadly.
Reggie, if AC Milan were to land Mbappe, this hair would be whatever color you want for a year.
Okay, let me write that down. Joel will dye his hair any color I want for a year. Done.
Like, it's great that he's a fan, and I'm a fan. He talked about the Champions League final. He says, and as a fan of AC Milan, I have to admit that so I'm like, he kept going on about his love for it. But, and again, what era would he have loved them in? Well, what's Reggie's name on this here? If you look at it, right? It's the Ronaldinho era. It's, even before that, but I mean, Kaká, but part of it. So,
Seedorf.
yeah, so I guess, right, all that. So,
Giroux's his boy, I guess. Giroux and him are boys. I don't know, but
Teo Hernandez.
Yeah, Joe. Hey, man. Stranger things have happened. Pep Guardiola won a Champions League, so strange things can happen, right? So,
he won it. You mean he won a Champions League with City, Reg?
He didn't win one at Bayern, did he?
No.
Did not.
Barcelona and yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, he won a. Okay, I shouldn't say Pep. I keep ripping on Pep. I should say Manchester City won a Champions League. Stranger things.
Yeah.
I was going to talk about Pep, but I'm exhausted with him.
Me too. I think we've done City. We've done City enough. I think, and Champions League. So we're going to have to.
We'll shelve it for next year when they get relegated, or the investigation happens. Still waiting for it if it ever comes through. But amazing things happening on this side of the pond. One of the best ever to do it. Debatable. GOATs, greatest of all time, whatever you want to say.
Whatever you want to say. Wow.
I don't say it, but whatever. Ticket prices for games involving Inter Miami have gone sky high through the roof. We touched upon it a little bit last week, and we're talking about Lionel Messi to Inter Miami playing alongside our boy Kamal Miller.
Amazing.
Amazing. Kamal Miller's played beside Nani and Messi, he can say. Who do you think's the first player on that team to get to want a signed shirt?
Yeah, it's
Pozuelo.
Yeah, it's talking about Dreamland. I mean, this is where we're at, where the MLS is, it's here. I mean, it's here. Like, it's here. Like, we know that there are players now that this league has it, right? It has it. It has the endorsements. It'll have the money and the draw, the big cities like Miami, LA, and so on, and these such attractive markets that this is now a reality. This is Lionel Messi. Okay, so yeah, Lionel Messi being in MLS, like Reggie, in our wildest dreams, watching that team in 2007, do we ever think that Lionel Messi, one of the best players of all time, would be in our league? Like, this is insane.
I think he's paving the way for the guy in Saudi league to come over too. I mean, I think Ronaldo should have come to MLS, but I mean, again, you can't fault his decision. He's probably making $1 trillion a second over there. But
As a lot of them are going to be now, Benzema and Conte, and
well, yeah, I mean, they're attracting all the best players because they're paying them $100 million a year, which we never would have seen in any of the leagues that can afford even the transfer for. They would never make that. So, I mean, I don't blame them. We'll get your last big paycheck. Do whatever you want. I mean, I don't think the league that competitive. I don't watch Saudi, so I'll be asking, but just based off what I'm hearing and seeing, I don't think it is. I mean, guys like Benzema's probably going to score 50 goals in that league. But I think what's happening in the MLS, and he got a nice deal, Messi, to come over. It's not just come over and play and make a little bit of money. I mean, he's set up for after his career too, right?
Yeah, like part of the Apple subscription. I don't like the money. Like
you're getting a piece of the Apple. You get first dibs on the next team that comes in. He got the David Beckham deal, right?
You got the David Beckham plus 100, right? It's I think it's we're not the only ones to say it, but it's game changing for the MLS. Like this is where the MLS maybe takes a step and becomes a top 5 league. Imagine that. Like, do you imagine that this is what we're talking about? And
well, he's going to attract a lot of even younger Argentinian players to come over, right?
He's going to attract sponsors, Reggie. Sponsorship. You know, it's going to change the face of this league beyond, right, above and beyond. So this league is. We've been saying this, and a lot of people have for years. It is, you know, we've been looking at the stadiums, and they look the part. And now everything else is going to be the part. It's going to be it. You know, I can see this league becoming a top 5 league in the world in the next 10 years, maybe less. I'd say 10 years.
I hear what you're saying, but I think you'd have to start getting guys like Messi
a little earlier.
Yeah, 28, 29, around there if you want it to be that type of league. Because you're still going to float over to Ligue 1 or whatever, get the money from PSG and then play on, right?
The reason why I say it, Reggie, I think it's, and again, I'm probably not the first one to say it, so, but I look at the crossover, and you look at like what's happening in Europe with the huge following for the NBA, you know, and you used to have a player come from Serbia, like what, or Croatia, or France, or you know, dare I say, you know, an African player who moved to Greece. Like this is, you know, it's very similar with the MLS. And I just think the viewership is so global, and that, you know, we saw all these world football stars at, you know, NBA finals, and you might say, what's the big deal? Because the crossover, the shrinking of the world with social media and everything is giving fodder to this. And yeah, you're right, Reggie. They got to start coming over a little bit younger and in their prime, and then maybe we see that, because players still want to see it as where is the best place for them to challenge themselves. I do think it's coming. It's unbelievable that we are actually speaking of this. We said a guy, you know, a kid that we know and had on our show, and I had known Kamal Miller playing on the same field. How about same team, same dressing room?
There's that training, same dinner, same bus, same everything.
It's what we say all the time, and we always take it back to why we did the show, which is you know, Canadian footy, the scene, and the Canadian footy, the scene is part and parcel with MLS. So if we're saying that the MLS is going to be legitimized even more, I got news for you, and hopefully the young kids that might listen to this or so on, there is a spot for you. Like you don't just think it's the kid in Brazil, of course, the kid in Argentina, the kid in France, the kid in Germany. This could happen, right? So it's beyond exciting.
Yeah, well, look at even McNaughton out in Columbus, right? What was he playing? UFT, or where was he playing?
Yeah, there we go. You know, again,
he got an opportunity at TFC, gets traded to Columbus, and now he's a starting center back there. So it could happen. It happens. There's different paths. There's different ways to get there. The first door slammed is an opportunity somewhere else, right? So that's what we try to instill in all the kids that are watching right now, and that's what I think Canada Soccer and even not going to get on my soapbox about this. Everybody knows how I feel about the way we have to watch our teams play. It's subscription based when it should just be on normal TV so everybody can watch it. But anyway, I'm not going to get back into it. But I mean, yeah, I think I'll bring it back to what you said about the NBA players going to the NBA finals. I didn't see anybody sitting front row in Denver, but I definitely saw front row soccer players, Vinicius Jr., Neymar, all there in Miami. And I think,
Miami.
um, Messi had something to do with Messi has something to do with that. So,
and you think two places, right, Reggie? Yeah, a little bit. Miami and LA, and I think those are the markets. Yeah, because they're not even flocking to New York, right? You can see that. That's
no. Nobody goes to only go to Knick games, right? So, I mean, yeah, LA and Miami, those type of now Miami's going to be a destination. If you can afford tickets to go watch a Miami game, go, I guess. I was talking to somebody today. It was today or yesterday, and they asked me like if Messi was coming, would you go? I don't know. I would love to, but I don't know $500 and all the people that are going to be down there. I don't know, Joe. I don't know, but first world problem.
Yeah, well, we mentioned this before. I think we're going to get to the three letters that we're going to end the show. Sorry, is TFC. So 3 letters, almost had 3 points. If I would have told you it would be a goalkeeping error and a huge gap that would cost you 3 points, I would have said, no, come on, it'll be something else. But that's essentially what it was, right? Despite if we were just going to talk about TFC again in a winning position, dropping another 2 points.
Well, I said it in a previous show. They average a win a month. I said, oh, my God, they've already won already in June. They're going to win again.
Met the quota.
They're going to win it again. They're going to break it. This might be the start of, Sean Johnson. Unbelievable mistake, Joe. Unbelievable.
I can't believe it. And then, of course, 2 days later against a U.S. men's national team call-up. Listen, I'm not here to crap on Sean Johnson. I still think that was a good signing and so on. But, man, that was really heartbreaking, horrible mistake. You mentioned this, though, during the game, and you were saying, hey, they're playing all right. And I watched it back. I'm like, yeah, they did play a good game. The performance was a lot better. I like that. But unfortunately, here we're in this same boat again. If you're a TFC fan and TFC player, where you're playing so much from so far behind, that is there going to come a point where there's 15 games left in the season, 10 games left, and we're already out of the playoff hunt? So as of now, they're not, because everyone's kind of doing that. But TFC needs to start getting 3 points every game.
What did you see was a difference, Joe? I think for me there was one difference in that game that Bob Bradley made. I'm shocked that he even made the decision. That was to play Bernadeschi underneath.
Yeah, I like that too.
Like stop playing him out wide. He's not a winger. He can do one thing from that, and it's just cut in, and it's easy.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah. Even when he was in Italy, a lot of people wanted to see him play
10 role,
a little bit more underneath. Yeah, he did it a bit at Fiorentina before he rose to that stardom. Rose to prominence where he made a big money move or a bigger move to Juve, and he played a little bit there in Juve. But the quality is there in Bernadeschi, absolutely. But yeah, I would love to see him make that role his for sure. You're right, Reggie. I like Giovinco. Like a Giovinco played underneath there, and then he drifted wide and went to different. Basically, you're one of our best players, if not the most, dynamic, or one of them with Larea and Insigne, right? And how about that Canadian guy in there? But have him be free and kind of play where he can get into those areas, get into those pockets, and pick up the ball here and there to make things happen. So yeah, I think that's a huge, tactical move that hopefully continues, and it continues to bring, this group needs to be better. We know that in terms of points. Performance was better. It was nice to see Osorio back in the mix.
90 too.
All right, we see his value. And we need 3 points though. Don't need 3 points. Need to start racking up some 3 points. So yeah. So Reggie,
I was going to mention something about TFC before we left, but I forgot what it was, and forget
it. That's it. I
forgot. It was about Bernadeschi. I think. Can't remember. Doesn't matter. Let's go.
So, Reg, what's one? Let's give it this. So, what's one transfer silly season thing that you're looking out for in general, and then one for Arsenal. What do you think? So, one Arsenal and one just general one. What do you got?
General, I would like to see if what I don't know where the rumor came about Mbappe, but he came out and said he didn't say that. So I would like to know where that came from. But where there's smoke, there's fire. I want to see what happens with him. For Arsenal, I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can get this done. But I know we talked about Declan Rice last week, but they're talking about Declan Rice and Caicedo, Brighton, getting them both. If you're able to pull that off, that's incredible.
That'd be different.
I think that they're saying Rice is almost done for 100, which again, not my money, but we're getting to that point now where in about a couple of years, fringe players are going to be being sold for 70, 80. But anyways, whatever. So those are my two right there. If Caicedo and Rice join the midfield with Thomas Partey and Martin Odegaard, it's going to be deadly for. How about you? What are you looking forward to as a general transfer and maybe something for your team?
General transfer, I really just see. I mean, I think it's pretty much sealed now that Kylian Mbappe will go to Real Madrid.
You think so?
I think so. I think it's just, where else could he go? I think that's done. I think it's done. And maybe, he said it too, Alphonso Davies, maybe to Real Madrid. Who knows? But in terms of AC Milan, well, now that we're on budget again and shoestring, it's really disappointing. But
there's a lot of players, free agents that are free, Joe. Lots.
Right. So, but let's go with I'd love to see Marcus Thuram. Love to see him. AC Milan, that'd be great. Yeah, that'd be good. I mean, again, we're going realistic, right? So Marcus Thuram, that'd be great.
Gundogan's available. Kante's available. Like those guys are available, Joe. Make an offer. No transfer fee.
It's just shockingly for me about that. But yeah, so we'll go Dreamland. They say things are okay, but Thuram, I'd love to see there. Love to see Marcus Thuram. I think he'd do very well in Italy. And of course, again, one that's maybe not as flashy for non-Serie A fans, but Davide Fratesi from Sassuolo. Good young, bright midfielder. He will be with the national team this week, tomorrow, in the Nations League game. So I'd love to see
Spain. Don't you? You play Spain?
Italy plays Spain, which will be very, very tough. Today was 4-2 for Croatia over the Netherlands. So yeah, but those are the ones. I think that those again. So one more mainstream, and then another one that would be a nice one to see there. But who knows?
Again, Joe, the theme of the podcast: stranger things have happened.
Messi's in Miami, so
Messi's in the MLS. It's crazy times. It's crazy times. Insigne only has 3 goals out of 19 games. It's crazy time.
Good one last week, though.
I think it should have been saved, but there's only one, Joe. There's only one place that ball's going. There's only one place that ball's going.
Yeah. It's the only thing he's looking to do, yes.
You should be able to shuffle over there and catch that, but whatever. Good goal. At least it went in, right? So what can you say? Guys, if you haven't subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. It's free. Read the @Futbol Weekly Pod if you're looking for handles on YouTube. We are at Futbol Weekly Pod on all platforms: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube, of course. You can see scrolling at the bottom, Soccer Max. Go see Max and Ross for your soccer needs. I know the outdoor season has just begun. If you need anything there, go see those guys. Tell them you listen to the Futbol Weekly Podcast, see what happens. If you don't have any one of those social media platforms and you still want to listen to us, we're still on Spotify, we're still on Amazon Music, Apple Music, TuneIn, Player FM. We're on all the platforms you use to get podcasts. I don't know, Joe. This might be the last one for a while. There's not really much
Last one.
going on, right? So,
Last one for a while.
yeah, I'll take a couple of weeks off, I guess, and then we'll come back with any transfers or if something happens at TFC and they go on a 30-game winning streak or something like that, we can definitely talk about that. But Joe, the season I was talking to somebody on our team, the new season's right around the corner. August, second week in August. So
August,
right around the corner.
Yeah. So guess what? You might see me. Right, new thing for Reggie for next year is maybe me at Soccer Max and Reggie right there. Look for that.
That's right.
Look for that.
So yeah, definitely look for that. We're in talks to get Joe to do the show from Soccer Max. Will be at Soccer Max to do the show. So we'll definitely do a show together there as well. Come by and see us. We'll announce it on the show when we're there. But yeah, guys, that's it. I mean, like we said, a couple of weeks off, 3 weeks off maybe, and then we'll come back with any new transfer information, and then we'll get ramped up for the end of the silly season and the beginning of the real season. Community Shield, City versus Arsenal. Let's watch that.
Ooh.
So, guys, have a great 3 weeks, great summer. If we don't see you or hear from us in the meantime, and we'll catch you in a couple of weeks.